You do not begin as a hero. You begin as a spare part. The year is 1805, somewhere in the green and pleasant land of England, a place you will soon find has absolutely no transferable skills for the world that awaits you. Your father is a respectable man with a respectable name and a less than respectable amount of land, all of which is destined for your older, more important brother. Your mother is a woman skilled in needlepoint and producing heirs and, in your case, a spare. You are the second son, not an heir, but an asset to be leveraged, a name to be placed somewhere useful, like a chess piece nobody minds sacrificing. Your fate is the Royal Navy. It is the most dignified of dumping grounds for boys of your station, a place where ambition can be safely channeled away from the family estate and pointed at the king's enemies, or failing that, at large, empty spaces on the map. You have a distinct memory, around age 7, of watching your brother being shown the estate deeds, his pudgy fingers tracing the lines of his future. That same afternoon, your father gives you a beautifully carved miniature ship and tells you your inheritance is the whole wide world. You don't understand it as a curse then. You just think the boat is a bit small. Your childhood officially terminates at the age of 12. The end does not come with a bang, but with the squeak of a carriage wheel delivering you to Portsmouth. Your new home is a ship of the line, a floating fortress of wood and rope and casual brutality. This is your crucible. Here, the methodology of forging you into a useful instrument is simple and ancient. It is a combination of fear, humiliation, and endless, soul-crushing repetition. You learn navigation not from a kind tutor, but from a perpetually drunk sailing master who uses a knotted rope's end to punctuate his lessons on your back. You learn the calculus of wind and tide, but the most important calculation is how to remain unnoticed by the older midshipmen, who view cruelty as a spectator sport. You fail once, miscalculating the ship's position by a few leagues. Your punishment is not a stern lecture, but being forced to stand on the quarterdeck for a full day's watch in the sleet, a miniature officer in a sodden uniform, shivering as the real officers pointedly ignore your existence. They weren't punishing the mistake. They were punishing the imperfection. They were teaching you that you, yourself, were an error that needed correcting. The process is nothing less than a complete psychological rewiring. Childhood innocence is a liability, scraped away like barnacles from a hull. Empathy is a disease, purged by forcing you to watch a man you shared a joke with yesterday be flogged into a bloody mess for being 5 seconds late for his watch. You learn to suppress the gag reflex. You learn to adopt a mask of cool detachment. Individuality is trimmed and tailored until it fits the shape of the king's uniform. You are not a boy from Lincolnshire anymore. You are becoming a component, a cog in a great, imperial machine, your inner world systematically replaced by charts, tables, and the sacred text of the Admiralty's regulations. And what is the purpose of this glorious transformation? The public has a very clear and very wrong idea. The gilded lie, splashed across the broadsheets, is that you are a questing knight of the modern age, a bearer of civilization, a courageous pioneer venturing into the blank, silent places for God and country. You are the heroic figurehead on the prow of progress. But the reality is a biological hell. The myth is a clean, white sail against a blue sky. The reality is the unholy stench of your own quarters. It's the thick, cloying miasma of 130 men packed into a damp, unventilated wooden tube, a smell of stale sweat, bilge water, rum, and creeping sickness that you never quite get used to. Hygiene is a fantasy. Your uniform is stiff with salt and grime. Your skin is a geography of sores and rashes. The ship's surgeon is a butcher whose primary tool for every ailment, from a cough to a compound fracture, is a saw. Your diet is a monotonous rotation of salted meat so hard you could carve it like wood, and ship's biscuit so infested with weevils that you tap it on the table before each bite, not to clear them out, but simply to give them a chance to scurry away. The grand romance of exploration is immediately and violently contradicted by the vile, physical truth of your daily life. The greatest danger is not a foreign cannon, but your own tinned food, sealed with cheap lead solder that slowly, methodically, poisons you with every single meal, a creeping madness served up as sustenance. You are an artist, and your medium is misery. For 2 decades, you practice your craft in the gray, unforgiving waters of the world. Then, in the 1840s, the moment arrives. The Admiralty, bored in peacetime, needs a grand gesture. They decide to finally solve the Northwest Passage, that mythical shortcut to China that has haunted the English imagination for centuries. The challenge is simple. Take 2 state-of-the-art ships, Her Majesty's ships Erebus and Terror, reinforced for the ice and packed with 3 years of provisions, and force a path through the top of the world. The stakes are immense. Success means eternal glory, a place in the history books, the adulation of an entire empire. Failure means, well, nobody likes to think about that. You are given command. This is your legendary moment. This is the setup for your grand, tragic punchline. Your execution is flawless, a masterpiece of naval procedure. You sail from the Thames in a flurry of patriotic well-wishes. You navigate the treacherous waters of the Atlantic, your command crisp, your calculations precise. You enter the ice, and here, your true genius, the genius of obsessive, pessimistic caution shines. Where other captains might risk a direct assault, you probe, you retreat, you wait. You treat the ice not as an obstacle to be smashed, but as a sentient, malevolent entity to be outwitted. You read the subtle shifts in its color, the deep groans that echo through your hull, the patterns of the leads opening and closing like fleeting opportunities. Your strategy is a slow, grinding war of attrition. You make it further than anyone before you. You chart coastlines no European has ever seen, naming them after the assorted lords and admirals who will read your reports from the comfort of their London clubs. You successfully overwinter, turning your ship into a fortified outpost against the endless dark, the -40-degree cold, and the crushing despair. The climax of your performance is not a single, dramatic duel, but this, a full year of surviving the unsurvivable. The immediate aftermath is silence. You've sent no word back, but in your own mind, you have succeeded. You are the master of this icy domain. You have cemented your reputation, if only to yourself and your increasingly weary crew. In the hypothetical world of the Admiralty, you are already a legend, the man who finally unlocked the planet's last great secret. But here, in the deafening quiet of the Arctic, the applause is conspicuously absent. Your success is simply earning the right to face another day of the exact same struggle. The cage of your own legend is already closing around you. The social cage you inhabit is absolute, and its bars are forged from rank and responsibility. While the men below deck can find camaraderie in their shared misery, you are utterly, profoundly alone. Your daily grind is a performance of unwavering competence. You wake, you check the chronometers. You take the noonday reading, if there is a sun to be seen. You write in your log, your language precise, betraying none of the gnawing dread that is your constant companion. You dine with your officers, a miserable pantomime of civility where the same 3 topics are discussed: the state of the ice, the state of the stores, and speculation about the promotions you will all receive upon your triumphant return. The monotony is a physical pressure, a weight on your soul. It is the soul-crushing boredom of true extremity. To ward it off, you organize amateur theatricals, forcing men who are slowly starving to dress up in rags and recite lines in a fog of their own frozen breath. You are a warden, a priest, and a cruise director for a voyage to hell. Society, the very entity you are doing this for, simultaneously idolizes and ignores you. You are a name in the papers, a symbol of British fortitude. But you are also a tool, a man sent to do a job deemed too dangerous for anyone important. You remember a dinner party years ago after a lesser voyage. A duchess praised your tremendous courage, her eyes glazed over with a complete lack of understanding. A moment later, she turned to a politician to discuss something that actually mattered, like a railway contract. You are celebrated as a concept, but as a man, you are disposable. This is reinforced by the unwritten laws of your profession. You are expected to risk everything. But should you fail, the failure will be entirely your own. The Admiralty, which sent you here with flawed maps and fatally flawed food tins, will be the first to wonder, with clinical detachment where you might have erred. The most vicious cycle of all is the one you represent. As captain, you are the embodiment of the system that created you. You must now impose that same brutal, soul-stripping discipline on the men under your command, forcing another generation to endure the same crucible, perpetuating the lie that this suffering is, in fact, a form of glory. The beginning of the end arrives with the quietest of events. It is the summer of 1846. It should be a time of thaw, of escape. But the ice does not release you. It holds you fast for a second consecutive year. This is the precipice. The situation is not yet a disaster, merely a profound, grinding inconvenience. You have supplies, you have discipline. The routine continues, a shield against the creeping fear. You tell the men it is a test of their mettle. You tell yourself it is a matter of patience. You are, after all, the master of this environment. You have survived it before. The ship's log reflects this confidence, a steady hand recording the weather, the ice conditions, the daily rationing. It is a document of control, a testament to order in the face of chaos. But it is a fiction. The fatal error is not a single, dramatic mistake, but a slow, creeping decision born of desperation and poison. The lead from those meticulously canned provisions has been doing its silent work. Your mind, the finely tuned instrument of command, is becoming unreliable. Your judgment is clouded by paranoia and a deep, cellular fatigue. The breaking point comes in the spring of 1848, after a third winter in the ice. Men are dying now, not from accidents, but from something deep within. Their gums are black, their minds are wandering. Your own second in command, a good man named Crozier, urges you to stay with the ships. But you, in your lead-addled wisdom, overrule him. You make the calculation. You decide the ships are a prison, not a fortress. The fatal error, the one that seals every fate, is the order you give. Abandon shipses. You will drag the heavy lifeboats, laden with silver cutlery, monogrammed china, and other useless symbols of the world you've lost, across hundreds of miles of impossible terrain to a river that is a mere fantasy on your flawed map. The point of no return is the moment you step off the deck of the Terror for the last time. The solid wood under your feet, which has been your entire world, is exchanged for the shifting, treacherous surface of the sea ice. You watch the men, skeletal and weak, begin to haul the sledges. You see the madness in the act. You see them packing dessert spoons and curtain rods. And you know, with a sudden, gut-wrenching clarity that cuts through the leaden fog in your brain, that you have not just made a mistake. You have authored an obituary for 128 men, including yourself. The ships, with their supplies and shelter, sit frozen behind you, silent witnesses to your monumental, irreversible folly. The horror now moves inward, colonizing your consciousness. The march across the ice is a funeral procession. The haunting is constant. Every man who falls, every face you see hollowed out by starvation and scurvy, is a direct accusation. The nightmares are no longer about the ice crushing the hull, but about the faces of your crew at the moment you gave the order. Their looks of trust and faith now curdled into a permanent, silent condemnation. Paranoia becomes your only companion on the march. You see the men whispering. Are they talking about the dwindling rations, or are they talking about you? You clutch your pistol. The command structure has dissolved into a primal band of starving animals, and you are just one of them, the one they have the most reason to hate. You are no longer their captain. You are the architect of their doom. Your anesthetic of choice is no longer available. The rum is gone. The wine is gone. All that is left to numb the psychological agony is a retreat into a cold, dark place in your own mind. You focus on the mechanical act of walking, one foot in front of the other. You shut down all thought, all memory, all guilt. But the body has its own calculus. The hunger eclipses everything. It rewrites morality. You, the officer of the Royal Navy, the gentleman from Lincolnshire, now look at your fellow man and see only sustenance. The internal erosion is complete when the first act of cannibalism occurs. You do not give the order. You do not have to. You simply see the evidence. the butchered remains of a fallen crewman, and you do not object. You rationalize it as the custom of the sea, a grim necessity. But you know the truth. You have crossed the final moral event horizon. The man you once were is gone, consumed by the cold, the hunger, and the all-consuming guilt of your catastrophic failure. Your own mind is now the most hostile territory of all. Your end is a masterpiece of anticlimax. There is no grand speech, no heroic last stand, no poignant final words scribbled in a journal for posterity. The final setting is not a captain's cabin or a battlefield, but a featureless expanse of gray snow under a gray sky, somewhere on the coast of King William Island, a place so desolate it feels like a cosmic joke. You are surrounded by the last few, stumbling survivors, men who are now little more than walking skeletons, their eyes vacant with a horror that has burned out their souls. Your final days are not spent leading, but simply being. You are a body moving out of sheer, witless momentum. The inglorious cause of your death is exquisitely trivial. It is not a polar bear attack. It is not a dramatic fall through the ice. It is, most likely, a combination of starvation, scurvy, pneumonia, and the lead poisoning that has been your faithful companion for years. Or perhaps it is simply fatigue, a profound, bone-deep weariness that finally becomes more powerful than the will to live. One day, during a halt in a blizzard that is no worse than any other, you simply sit down. You lean your back against a sledge laden with useless silver forks, and you find you cannot, or will not, get up again. Your final moments are a slow, cold fade to black. You are detached, observational. You notice the way the falling snow seems to absorb all sound, creating a perfect, profound silence. You might feel a pang of something, regret, perhaps, or a flicker of memory of a green field in England, but it is faint, a signal from a distant star. The other men, what's left of them, don't try to help you. They can't. They just look at you with their hollow eyes and then continue their doomed march, because that is all that is left to do. Your death is a quiet, administrative detail in a much larger catalog of failure. You just stop. Your body freezes, becoming just another lump in the landscape, a temporary monument to the vast, crushing indifference of the natural world. Directly after your unobserved death, you are forgotten. Not by history, not yet, but by your own men, who are too consumed with their own slow-motion demise to afford you a backward glance. If you are lucky, they don't eat you. You are buried without a name, or more likely, not buried at all, left for the foxes and the wind. For decades, your fate is a complete mystery, a grand national question mark. The deeds of your expedition are misattributed, your discoveries are lost, your very endpoint unknown. You have vanished into the white void you sought to conquer. Now, leap forward. A century and a half. The world has moved on. And here is the ultimate, most exquisite irony. Your story, a grim festival of suffering, incompetence, and cannibalism, has been laundered. It has been transformed into a heroic myth. Your wife, the indomitable Lady Jane Franklin, refused to let you be a failure. Through sheer force of will, she transformed your disappearance into a noble sacrifice, a national tragedy that spurred on a dozen more glorious, and often equally fatal, rescue missions. You, the man who died of filth and folly, are now the subject of epic poems, of stirring paintings. You are a romantic hero, the stoic Englishman facing down the savage unknown. In the 21st century, you are a character in horror novels and television shows, your agony repackaged as thrilling entertainment. Your name is synonymous with mystery and adventure, not with lead poisoning and pathetic, mismanaged starvation. The final, sobering statement is this: empires are built on stories, not on truths. The difference between a life lived and a story told is the difference between hell and a handsome statue. Your life was a slow, agonizing grind of cold, stench, fear, and failure, ending in a squalid, lonely death. Your legacy is a clean, heroic lie, a cautionary tale told to children, a bit of Gothic spice for popular culture. You had to suffer in every conceivable way, and fail in the most absolute sense, so that the myth of heroic exploration could live on, untroubled by the foul, inconvenient reality. You were not a hero. You were raw material.